Hi, my name is Katie Simmons, and thanks for checking out Food Purpose, a whole plant-based, oil-free cooking show. Today I'm going to show you how to make roasted Brussels sprouts with caramelized red onions. Here's what you're going to need for this dish. A couple of red onions, about 1.25 pounds of Brussels sprouts, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, and 1/4 cup of pecan pieces. So the first thing you want to do is get your onions roasting. And to do that, you got your whole red onion, and we want to keep the end of the onion intact, keep the root end intact. And that's going to help give your onions sort of their big, chunky texture and give you some big pieces of onions. So you want to keep the end intact and then just take off this outer layer. That is not appetizing. And red onions I love with Brussels sprouts. A lot of people have bad experiences with Brussels sprouts growing up, but red onions have such natural sweetness to them that they really help balance any sort of bitter flavors that we might normally associate with Brussels sprouts. So especially when you're cooking with kids or anybody like that that tends to like sweeter things or more sugary flavors, the red onion is going to really help bring that out. So once you get your peel off, we want to keep the end intact and just cut this into big wedges. So you'll see how it all stays together. And you still got the root end intact. You want to keep all that in together. Give you those big old chunks. I got one that I've already done. Beautiful. And you just want to spread this into a baking dish with a little bit of water. About 1/4 inch of water comes up the sides. And that's going to help prevent any sort of browning. We want brown. We don't want burn. So now it's going to go in a nice hot oven, 425 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. And when they're done roasting, they're going to be nice and caramelized. And you'll see that brown color, they'll get a little crispy on the edge. And the brown comes from the natural sugars of the onions. So again, you really want that nice deep color. All right, our onions are done. Time to start working on our Brussels sprouts. And as I said before, a lot of people have bad experiences with Brussels sprouts, and I never did. I was lucky growing up. My mom never knew about Brussels sprouts, so they stayed out of the Simmons household. But one reason we have a bad association with them sometimes is the bitterness, mostly. Especially if you're a kid, you don't really like bitter flavors anyways. So what causes that bitterness is, first of all, these outer little leaves, which I'm trimming off. You want to get rid of those. Those can be a little bit bitter. So trim those off. And then you just want to cut your Brussels sprouts in half, just like we did with our onion. We want to keep it intact so it stays together. It's got a nice hearty texture with it, a good bite to it. And I've already got a bunch that have done that too. And then we're just going to blanch them. So I got boiling water. Gently, carefully place your Brussels sprouts in the water. Beautiful. And we're going to blanch them, and that basically means we're just going to cook them until they're nice and tender. So add a little bit of salt to the water, and that's going to help my water temperature come back up. And this will take about 2 to 3 minutes, so we just want to let that keep working. And while our Brussels sprouts are blanching, I'm going to add a little bit of magic to my onions. So not only do we have our caramelized onions, I add one of my secret flavor bullets. It's called Dijon mustard. If you don't have any in your fridge, you need to go buy some and put it in anything you need a little oomph added to. So I'm going to add a little bit of Dijon mustard. A couple tablespoons is plenty. And the thing about I love Dijon, I love spice. I love that little kick it has to it, the thing that makes you go, right? But mustard, it's an emulsifier. That means it makes things taste creamier. It's a lot of times people, myself included, we add mustard to salad dressings, and that helps make it creamy and helps things come together. And basically, if you don't see the magic of this, I'm using the juices from the onions. I'm using that emulsifying factor from the mustard to basically create a dressing right in the pan. It's sort of brilliant, if you ask me. Oh my gosh. A little bit of salt and pepper is going to go in here. Salt and pepper it up. And we can see our Brussels sprouts have been boiling for a little bit. And it's like, how do you know when your veggies are done cooking? Well, it's not rocket science. We test them. There's a couple ways to test them. The easiest way is to taste it. But another easy way is to pull it out And your knife should go through the end and it should slide right off, just like that guy did. So now he's ready and all of his friends are too. And it's important that you pull them off the heat right away. So turn your heat off. And we want to do a little ice shock to these guys. So we lock in that beautiful green color. And my quickest way of doing an ice shock is to get under cold water. I grab a little ice out of my freezer. Boom. And give them a little toss. Don't be afraid to get your hands in there. And what that's going to do, it's going to lock in that bright green color, lock in that texture so that you don't get the slimy Brussels sprouts of your childhood, or even that overcooked smell that we might have had of Brussels sprouts growing up. Beautiful. I want these Brussels sprouts to be totally cool and totally shocked. I don't want them to still be warm at all. So if the ice is still melting, if you still feel hot spots, it's not done yet. All right, these guys are done. Give them a good shake. Try to get off any water. If you see any ice cubes that happen to be sneaking in the bottom, get them out of there because they don't belong in here. So once the Brussels sprouts are done, they're going to go back with our onions into the pan. Look at that. It looks way too pretty. Stir them all up. Get that good mustard sauce all over them. Some good sweetness from the onions. It is a Brussels sprout onion party. And you could stop here, but it's the holidays. And you know, you gotta go a little bit over the top with the holidays. So this is when you go to your little nut pantry area. And I've got some chopped pecans I gotta use up because I seem to have them all time during the holidays. So I'm gonna toss some of those on there. You could do any sort of almonds, peanuts, hazelnuts would be great. And then you just want to pop this back in your hot oven for about 10 minutes until it gets nice and crispy on top and you smell those nuts, that nuttiness coming out. And there you have it. Look at that beautiful onions. You serve this to your family and friends. They're going to love you.